Substantive procedures would have to be used in that case, as the control environment cannot really detect all the risks, for example, of fraud, and the control environment are not working appropriately to detect any chances of things not that are not going well. That means would affect obviously the financial statement. So in that case, we would have to do substantive procedures rather than a combined approach. Now we will move to specific applications of professional skepticism, topic 3. So this is to do with fraud and ISA 240, the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in an audit of financial statements specifically refers to professional skepticism, stating that when obtaining a reasonable assurance, the auditor is responsible for maintaining professional skepticism throughout the audit. Considering the potential for management override of controls and recognizing the fact that audit procedures that are effective for detecting error may not be effective in detecting fraud. So we may find that when assessing the control environment of the company, there is possible management override of controls, and those override of controls may really cause things like fraud and stuff like that, or error. For example, if let's say in the payment controls, the same person who makes payments is the same person who authorizes payments, is the same person who approves payments. That is an actual management override of controls, and this could really cause fraud, as the same person may end up paying themselves because they're the one who approved themselves, they're the one who authorized themselves as well. So it is obviously those kind of things that an auditor should be skeptical about and question the whole process and find out, okay, this is what is happening. And if this is the risk that is there, we need to really go thorough in terms of verifying information that we get, especially maybe payments and invoices and stuff. We need to be able to verify and see that such things are not there. And obviously, after that, recommend segregation of duties for such a management override. So, and obviously, like the statement said, these procedures that are there to effectively detect error may not be effective in detecting fraud. So we need to find out ways that can detect fraud. Now, ISA 240 goes on to state a specific requirement for the auditor. The auditor shall maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit, recognizing the possibility that material misstatements due to fraud could exist. Notwithstanding the auditor's past experience of the honesty and integrity of the entity's management and those charged with governance. So obviously, we would have assessed, we have talked to those charged with governance of the company or management, and from that we would have assessed our level of honesty and integrity, or their level of honesty and integrity. But that does not remove that there's possibility for fraud that may happen here. Obviously, depending with the environment and the kind of work the company is involved in. So you need to be able to have identified areas where fraud may exist. And in those areas, we're going to exercise professional skepticism in questioning, in verifying, in identifying more areas that could signal a risk of fraud. The application paragraphs of ISA 240 emphasize the importance of assessing the reliability of the information to be used as audit evidence and the controls over its preparation and maintenance. In addition, ISA 240 states that management is often in the best position to perpetrate fraud. So most of the times, in most cases that have gone global in terms of collapse and stuff, we have seen that management is the one that most of the time perpetrate fraud or even commit it. Accordingly, when evaluating management's responses to inquiries with an attitude of professional skepticism, the auditor may judge it necessary to corroborate responses to inquiries with other information which is ISA 240 A17. This is significant. In that ISA 240 reminds the auditor that when management provides the auditor with the audit evidence, be that in the form of answers to our inquiries, or it can be written representations, or other forms of documentary evidence that we get from our management, the auditor should carefully consider the integrity of that evidence. And obviously, in considering the integrity, that's when we need to maybe do third-party verifications, or to make sure that this evidence is really correct and is coming from the source, and whether additional corroboratory evidence should be obtained from a more reliable source. For example, calling the bank if you want to verify something that the company is saying got from the bank, like a loan, stuff like that, or motor vehicles that they've purchased on mortgage, or on installments and stuff like that. So such things you can verify, let's say from a bank, and you can corroborate that evidence. So this is obviously professional skepticism at work, because you are thinking, okay, this may be not correct, and I need to verify it by other means. So the IAASB has issued staff questions and answers document entitled Professional Skepticism in an Audit of Financial Statements. And this document actually outlines some of the areas of the audit where the use of professional skepticism may be very important. These are outlined below in our slide, and largely relate to areas of the audit that are complex, subjective, or highly judgmental. So these are areas there where the International Accounting, Auditing Standards Board has decided to flag and say these are areas that are really complex. Areas that are complex, subjective, and there you need to practice professional skepticism in order to be able to identify any risk areas, any risk of misstatements, and stuff like that. So they said you need to be able to practice professional skepticism, verifications and stuff on looking at auditing accounting estimates. Accounting estimates are a very important aspect in accounting, or obviously in the audit environment, because you're auditing financial statements, because especially with the IFRS reporting framework, there are a lot of estimates. There are estimates for depreciation, revaluations, change in estimates, obviously, provisions, and so many things. Fair values. These are mostly calculated based on estimates. So they become very important, and if those estimates are not reasonable, they may really cause the financial statements to not be fair, or and not to represent whatever is happening in the company. So this can include fair value accounting estimates, the use of significant assumptions by management in developing accounting estimates, and reviewing the judgments and decisions used by management for management bias in developing accounting estimates. For example, management can buy a motor vehicle and say depreciating for 30 years. That is not reasonable, and obviously that will put, obviously, if there are a lot of vehicles in that company and they are being reported like that, that means the financial statements only obviously do not represent what's happening in their company in terms of its assets, motor vehicles. So we want to know the judgments that have been put. Are they depreciating by 5 years or 10 years, which is mostly the norm, and stuff like that. If it's fair values for PPE, for assets, we need to be able to verify in the market what is the original fair values here, and obviously adjust them according to how many years they've stayed, um, and adjust them to obviously what the independent evaluators may have given us, and then we make the actual calculations to actually come back to what management if they have in their financial statements. And obviously we can compare, and we can use our judgment as to whether this is correct, or we can obviously recommend some changes or improvements. So these are the things that are important in terms of accounting estimates. and why it is a risk area that the staff questions and the answers has really been pointed to be a risk area where we need to practice professional skepticism. Now, going concern, this is a very important aspect because sometimes companies that just report their financial statements based on going concern, but if you are to assess going concern for a company, you might find that this company is not really in a position to be able to continue for the foreseeable future. So it is important when you assess as an auditor whether there is going concern here. Those tests that you do for going concern, you need to practice professional skepticism there, to ask the right questions and stuff like that. The auditor should review management's assessment of going concern definitely, and whether management's plans are feasible. This being particularly important where there is significant doubt over the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Then the related party transactions and disclosures are really, really important. This is a really important aspect because all those key people in the organizations and maybe subsidiary companies or joint ventures and associates and all their operations with the parent company or obviously key members of management and their relatives, friends, and all those things. We need to be able to verify. We need to have professional skepticism when auditing those areas, and obviously we need to be able to pinpoint if there is a serious risks to the organization, if there are any controversies of rules that are related to related party relationships. Um, and then maybe these are areas where there are serious reportable irregularities that can be of concern to auditors. So it can be difficult to obtain information on related parties. Usually, you get this. First of all, if they are subsidiaries, and you're gonna find it maybe by assessing the financial statements previous and stuff. But mostly it's from your interactions with the management during the time when you assess when you talk to those charged with the governance. So as knowledge may be confined to management, meaning that the auditor may have to rely on management to identify all related parties. The auditor should also be skeptical when assessing the business rationale behind related party transactions. So you need to be able to find, is there any collusion here? Is there any conflict of interest? So many things. I mean, ethical principles that can be contravened there, and you need to be able to assess whether this is business being done at arm's length, or if it's not at arm's length, the rationale behind it. Consideration of laws and regulations. The auditor should be alert throughout the audit for indications that they may have been suspected non-compliance with the laws and regulations. So obviously by assessing the environment that the company is working in, it is important to note the various laws that are governing that environment and to see whether the company is in compliance with those laws and regulations, because that would be a serious area of risk and obviously to the company reputational risks, and the auditor should be aware of all such things. Now we move to topic 4, the increasing importance of professional skepticism. Like I said, due to collapses that have happened, and most cases, auditors not being able to pick a risk that is happening within a company, that in most cases end up causing serious collapse that make people and shareholders lose money. This topic or this area of professional skepticism has become a very important, and it is increasingly being a very important area, especially in the auditing environment. Now, the IAASB staff questions and answers document contains a foreword that emphasizes the increasing need for auditors to apply professional skepticism. One reason for this, obviously, is the increased use of judgment and subjectivity in management's financial reporting decisions. And especially with also the improvement of technology and things like cloud and stuff, they've put more pressure, because most of these things at the moment are still accounted for using assumptions, judgments, estimations, and stuff. It is very important in the current environment, digital environment, to have that level of professional skepticism and that level of a questioning mind. That is important. I mean, to make sure that the financial statements that are being reported are really a fair representation of what's happening within the business. This is due to the application of international financial reporting standards, IFRS, which are largely principle based. And these ones often require the preparation of, or the preparers of financial statements to exercise significant judgment when making decisions on accounting treatments. So, accounting treatments, reevaluations, evaluations, accounting estimates, provisions, and all those things are really a matter of judgments and estimates. Like I mentioned, the global financial crisis of 2008 to 2009 also focused attention on professional skepticism. Auditors in many jurisdictions were criticized for not applying sufficient professional skepticism at that time, particularly in relation to the audit of fair values, related parties, transactions, and going concern assessments. So these were areas which, especially on the 2008 crisis, were the major causes of it, in terms of fair values in the property sectors and stuff like that. One of the reasons for the IAASB issuing the staff questions and answers document was to re-emphasize the importance of professional skepticism, especially in the audit of financial statements, where there is a high risk of material misstatement due to financial distress. So that was the main reason, of course, they have to emphasize. Also, some in the UK Financial Reporting Council has issued briefing paper on professional skepticism, which suggests that professional skepticism is the cornerstone of audit quality. So, in other words, in this document, they're saying for us to have a high quality audit or audit outcome, it means the professionals or the auditors that have been carrying that audit would have to have used professional skepticism on a high level, questioning things, questioning and going hard on verification, on analytical procedures, on assessing environment, on third-party verification, on everything that will give you enough information to say, I have gotten the actual audit evidence enough for me to have a conclusion that things are going well within this company. So this has become a very important, as you can see, very important aspect. It proposes that the auditor should actively look for risks of material misstatement. It has to find, when you are assessing the control environment, you have to find where are these things. In other words, you're going to do test of controls that are enough to ensure that you are happy to a high level, that the things that are coming out of the control environment and the control system and maybe accounting systems are really what's happening and really what is intended to produce. So that's very important. And then after that, substantive procedures and stuff like that to verify account balances and line items on the financial statements. The document contains proposals for how audit firms can encourage audit teams to approach audits with a skeptical mind, obviously a skeptical mindset, and it considers that some audit firms may need to change their culture to allow this to happen. So they're actually advocating for a change of culture in terms of auditing, from maybe the way the most audits are being carried out, to really include a skeptical mindset, professional skepticism throughout the audit, almost in every stage. That's what this document is really proposing. And the IAASB's work plan for 2015, 2016, and going forward, this is actually happening in the current moment, enhancing audit quality and preparing for the future, issued in December 2014. I was prioritizing the issues that impact on audit quality, including group audits, quality control, and professional skepticism. So it is actually now in place, and this is what is being followed. And especially that's why professional skepticism has become a very important aspect in nowadays. It is clear that professional skepticism is to stay on the agenda of the regulatory authorities for some time to come, as it is so intrinsically linked to other key audit issues such as audit quality, obviously ethics and independence, ultimately the confidence that the public has in the auditing profession. So if we are going to have serious issues of companies collapsing, and on the receiving end is the auditing profession all the time, because people pinpoint why did the auditors not pick it up, why did the auditors, and there will be so much scrutiny in the auditing environment and audit companies, like what has happened in the recent years. So it is actually a matter of life and death for the auditing profession, and to really change its way of doing work. Now, in conclusion, the IAASB states that the need for professional skepticism cannot be overemphasized, and that adopting and applying a skeptical mindset is ultimately a personal and professional responsibility to be embraced by every auditor. So, on a personal level and on a professional level and at an organizational level, it is required that we really have a mindset that is very skeptical on what's happening, to ensure that what we end up have as financial statements are really a true reflection of what's happening within that organization. Given the increasingly complex and subjective nature of IFRS requirements, auditors must be confident to challenge management on a range of matters relevant to the preparation of the financial statements and the IAASB. And national bodies such as the FRC are keen to support auditors in the application of professional skepticism. This is an essential element of quality control and in safeguarding the credibility of the auditor opinion. So the end goal is that our auditor opinion at the end of the day should be a true reflection, should be an opinion that is based on our assessment, and our assessment should have been thorough, with the right questions, with the right questioning mind being applied throughout the work from the beginning to the end, and that we are satisfied that we have gotten enough audit evidence to substantiate our final audit report or opinion. I hope that this course have helped you to either revisit this topic, or to really learn something new totally in your work environment. Thank you so much for taking this time.